From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Clean and plentiful drinking water.
I pump in all my truck with.
Out of the creek?
Yeah.
Just straight out of the creek?
Yeah, straight out of the creek.
It's a luxury for some rural families. A look at the issue in the country. Plus, solving the trucker shortage.
We need to find ways to increase truck efficiency.
New legislation proposes changes for haulers. And is planting cotton about to kick off in Texas?
Well, cotton is typically king here outside of Lubbock, Texas. But with cotton prices and drought, we'll show you how acreage decisions are shifting this year. That's coming up today on AgDay.
That's right now on AgDay. Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Planting is already underway down in the south, and soon cotton will be going in the ground. But this year, the industry expects about 2.5 million fewer cotton acres to be planted. Tyne Morgan is in the Texas Panhandle, and Tyne, we should get an intentions update later this week.
Well, Clinton, we're just days away from USDA's prospective plantings report, and I'm standing in the middle of what's known as the largest cotton patch in the U.S., just right outside of Lubbock, Texas. And as you can see behind me, these fields resemble more like the Dust Bowl as crop prospects dwindle here by the day, as do expectations for this year's cotton acres. It's hard to forget these scenes from just a month and a half ago.
We had 90-mile-an-hour winds here. I had 6 center pivots that went down, and then, it tore stuff up all around the farms, and it just turned sand loose that we hadn't had.
A major dust storm tore through the southern plains, adding insult to injury for farmers who were already staring at a bleak winter wheat crop.
We've had probably less than a half an inch all winter long. I mean, we're terribly dry.
Just 5 weeks away from the start of cotton planting, and farmers here are wondering if they'll even be able to grow a crop on their parched dryland acres.
It's time for us to start strip tilling and making some decisions about planting and stuff, and it's really scary to do anything, because if you put a tractor in the field, there's a good chance of it turning loose and blowing out at this point.
The National Cotton Council's grower survey showed cotton acres down 17% from last year, and the biggest hit is here in Texas, where growers surveyed showed they planned to plant 21.2% fewer cotton acres this year.
The surveys that have come out so far are above 11 million acres. If you look at the corn-cotton ratio, which is sort of the historical benchmark that we use, it would predict more like 9.5 to 10 million acres.
It's no secret cotton acres could see a sharp drop, but as cotton prices drift lower, growers and economists question simple fundamentals and why they haven't fueled the market this year.
I'm a diehard cotton person, like I told you. That's made our country out here. But right now, the market's telling you not to plant it, and it's crazy. We don't really understand a lot of the fundamentals of it right now.
This planting intentions report might move the market a little bit, but we'll see what happens. But I do think there's a number of structural issues on the demand side that are probably weighing heavy on the future expectations.
And now, planting with hope is a growing theme in an area that's dealt with 2 consecutive years of drought.
As high as input costs are, it's a big gamble to plant it hoping it'll go up. I mean, that's just not a very good business decision at this time. And I've never really been in that position before, to where the grains are so much higher than cotton.
Well, Clinton, Friday's USDA report will confirm if more producers did shift their acreage decisions from what they said in National Cotton Council's survey back in February. But if cotton prices are any indication, you can bet on lower cotton acres this year. Reporting from Lubbock, Texas, I'm Tyne Morgan for AgDay.
All right, thanks, Tyne. And we'll have complete coverage of USDA's prospective plantings report Friday at agweb.com and over the weekend on U.S. Farm Report. Plus, tune in for a deep dive Monday right here on AgDay. While parts of the country are dealing with chances of flooding, drought and dry weather remains a serious threat to the growing season in the southern plains. Meteorologist Chuck Heaver joins us with the latest.
Okay, let's take a look at where the precipitation is going to be. We have a frontal boundary that'll push through the Great Lakes. That'll bring a little bit of snow, but the obvious is the big storm out to the west, and that'll continue to work its way down the coast and then eject itself into the center part of the country with the potential for some severe weather Thursday and Friday. Take a look at the drought. Northern Texas and off to the north, it is extreme to moderate drought, and of course California now, nothing there, and southern Florida, dry to moderate. Meanwhile, drought persists in the southern plains. Take a look at these winter wheat fields in New Deal, Texas. The crop is stressed and sparse in fields here. The USDA says the Texas wheat crop is just 18% good to excellent. I'll be back with your full forecast with the possibilities of some severe weather in the center part of the country coming up.
America is experiencing an 80,000 truck driver shortage. At the same time, the median age of truck drivers in the industry is between 51 and 52 years old. Now, this has a negative ripple effect in every part of the supply chain. However, as AgDay's Michelle Rook reports, Congress is looking for a legislative solution.
Clinton, Congressman Dusty Johnson of South Dakota and Jim Costa of California introduced the Ship It Act in the House. The Safer Highways and Increased Performance for Interstate Trucking Act focuses on increasing the number of truck drivers and increases the productivity for haulers. It also provides flexibility during times of emergencies or black swan events like COVID. Now, at the core of the bill, it will incentivize new truck drivers to enter the workforce and streamlines the CDL process. However, it also allows states to increase truck weight limits by allowing 6-axle, 91,000-pound semis to operate on the interstate system. It's been endorsed by several groups, including the Soy Transportation Coalition, as a way to move more freight more efficiently and at a cost savings. Executive Director Mike Steenhoek says having the additional axle spreads out the weight over more tires, and so the imprint of the truck on the road is actually reduced.
A lot of states allow heavier weight limits with additional axles on the state and the local system. We think it should be also allowed on the interstate system, and that's the part of our surface transportation system that's built to the highest engineering standard, but yet in many cases it has the lowest weight limits allowed. So we think that makes a lot of sense to do that. We need to find ways to increase truck efficiency. I think this is a really good first step.
Farmers have long been advocating for this type of common sense idea to help them move their goods to market more efficiently.
And that'll be especially helpful on freight rates, because if we can haul more product with the same man hours and the same fuel, it's obviously going to make our basis better.
Hanton says this will also help decrease shipping costs, especially for their agricultural export customers. Additionally, Steenhoek says by adding axles to the semi-truck, it spreads out the weight, which decreases the harm on roads and bridges. It also shortens stopping distances with the additional set of brakes installed on the additional axle, which improves safety and enhances vehicle performance.
All right, thanks, Michelle. Soybeans continue to march higher. Michelle returns next to talk Tuesday's markets, and later, clean drinking water shouldn't be a luxury, but for many Americans, it's part of their daily struggle. We get a closer view in West Virginia in the country.
Mostly Agri closes in grains on Tuesday with the exception of old crop corn. John Heinberg joins us with Total Farm Marketing. Soybeans and meal leading the rally on Tuesday, John, and how much of that was just short covering because we've had such a big sell-off and we're going into like end of the month, end of the quarter?
I think that's a big part of it here. You know, we've taken a lot of price value off these beans here, and so we're seeing a little bit of a bounce. You know, obviously with the big numbers coming on Friday, the volatility that could come from that report, you're just seeing some good profit taking in that regard. You know, there's a couple other things though that are supportive of the bean market. You know, basis and that countrywide has been holding in there pretty well, so that tight supply picture keeps a little support on that front end. And those export shipments numbers or the inspections numbers on Monday were a little above what we thought we were going to see. So maybe there's just a little bit of concern that those supplies might get a little tighter as we move into the summer. And I think that's given this bean market a little boost here off of those lows.
So obviously that helped out the wheat market, but did we also just see short covering there because the funds are so short, or was there something fundamental driving it?
Outside of the short position, which they are starting to narrow up here as we're moving again to the end of the quarter. We saw that on the last commitment of traders report, that short position getting a little smaller. We got to keep an eye on some weather things that may be boosting that KC wheat. Obviously, those ratings continue to be very, very poor. You got spring wheat. We got maybe some planting concerns due to cold weather and snow in the northern tier. That's still all part of it as we're really watching the spreads run out between KC wheat and Chicago wheat. But again, just the combination of those factors with the end of the quarter coming at us here, it feels like the funds just want to maybe push us a little bit higher and take a little profit off after a pretty big drop.
Yeah, and speaking of spreading and profit taking, is that what we're just seeing in the corn market, that bear spreading is just some unwinding of the bull spreads?
I think that's a big factor here right now. We saw that May, December, July, December spreads really run out when that Chinese demand came in.
Right.
And we continue to see demand, so that should be supporting that spread. We got another sale this morning. It's 9 out of 10 sessions, I believe. We've had some type of corn sale. So that spread got a little bit lofty, and with the report this week, probably some squaring up there and getting that narrowed up a little bit in this time frame.
All right, thanks for your analysis. As always, John Heinberg, Total Farm Marketing. Our full analysis at agweb.com. We'll have more Ag Day coming up.
To discuss marketing strategies, call 800-334-9779.
Soybeans and meal had big gains on Tuesday. Michelle is back with markets to talk about what sparked the rally.
AgDay Farm Country Forecast is brought to you by Calhoun Superstructure, engineered fabric buildings serving the agriculture and fertilizer industries for over 30 years. Visit calhounsuperstructure.com/AG. That's calhounsuperstructure.com/AG.
Meteorologist Chuck Heber joining us here with our national forecast. Chuck, it looks like a pretty calm day across most of the country today, but severe weather may be on the way.
Yeah, Thursday and Friday, the storm energy from the west coast is going to move into the center part of the country. It's a powerhouse storm, and we could see some severe weather. All right, we're going up into the jet stream to see where these storms are going to head across for the week. We have a trough out to the west. You can see that here. That's going to work its way down the coastline and bring yet more rain into California. That will eject off into the center part of the country and bring a storm, yes, up through the center part of the country. So anywhere from Illinois to the west on Thursday, a potential for some severe weather, and then Illinois to the east on Friday, severe weather as well over into Indiana with that storm. That storm's important because it's going to drag cold air behind it, and with that cold air colliding with the warm air, well, there you get thunderstorms. Here's a look at future radar. You can see here this little boundary pushing through the Chicagoland area, some very light snow. The storm off on the west coast, snow, and more rain. That's going to work its way again into the center part of the country, and we'll see a storm form and then ride up towards Chicago. This is the severe threat on Thursday, so that's for tomorrow. It's very light. However, this bubble here is going to move off to the east, and you're going to see that severe threat again over in Illinois on Friday. Okay, this is a precipitation forecast. You can see a lot of precipitation with these storms anticipated, and off to the west coast, the same thing with that storm moving down the coast. In terms of snowfall, well, the good news is most of the cold air is bottled up north, so out to the Mountain West, and then a little strip here across the upper Great Lakes and into Canada. Here's the wind gust forecast. You can see the wind here. This is an association with that storm that's going to move off the west coast, and then the storm in the center part of the country. Look at this. So wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour in locations, and that'll carry forward with that storm as it moves off to the east. By the way, there's a planetary alignment. We've got 5 planets in the sky just after sunset: Mars, Uranus, Venus, Mercury, and Jupiter. Just look for the moon and then look down beyond the moon. You have to do it just after sunset, and you'll see all of those 5 planets. Okay, so St. Louis today, 60 degrees. Down in southern Florida, 89. We'll go up to Seattle at 61. For tonight, temperatures, well, pretty cold across the upper part of the country, but Chicago, that's not bad. 34 degrees to start, and then high temperatures then again. We're going to rebound nicely. Omaha's going up to 68 degrees, but still cold on the west coast. All right, let's take a look closer to home. In Bunker Hill, West Virginia, all the way up in the northeast part of the state, 58 degrees and 31 with sunshine. We have Tallahassee, Florida, partly sunny, 73, low 50, and Jefferson, South Dakota, 38 with a low 26 and partly cloudy.
There are new questions about the future of a pork processing plant in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. PorkBusiness.com says Holstone is putting its proposed $500 million processing facility on hold. According to an interview in Meeting Place, the company is pursuing a joint plant with Prestige in Eagle Grove, Iowa. That's expected to be operational by 2024. And Holstone CEO says they like the Sioux Falls location, but have decided to pursue this joint venture opportunity first. You can read more over at PorkBusiness.com. And there's a $15,000 reward after someone attempted to set fire to a swine farm in Alameda County, Iowa. It happened last month. Local reports say vandals tried to start pig barns on fire with the animals inside 2 different times. Authorities recovered a device in both cases. The reward will be paid for information leading to the arrest and conviction of those responsible. Anyone with information should contact the Alameda County Sheriff's Office at the number on the screen. Clean, safe drinking water can be hard to come by for millions of Americans. We'll see what life's like in one rural West Virginia community next.
The 2023 Bracket Busters Challenge, presented by Case IH, is underway. Who's still in the game? To find out, head to AgWeb now through April 3rd to check the leaderboard.
In the Country on Ag Day is brought to you by Pivot Bio. What if you had the nitrogen you need already on seed? Pivot Bio is the first company to apply nitrogen on seed. The nitrogen you need, now on seed, from Pivot Bio. Learn more at pivotbio.com.
City or county water isn't an option for everyone in this country, and according to the World Economic Forum, more than 2 million Americans are without running water or even basic indoor plumbing, and more than 44 million have inadequate water systems. Now, the EPA and some nonprofits are looking at ways to improve it, but it won't happen overnight. As Sarah Sidner reports from McDowell County, West Virginia.
You can see this ceiling, you know, one good heavy snow and we're done. This building's gone.
It looks like it's been patched up and patched up and patched up. Inside this dilapidated building, where the roof is always threatening to cave in, sits one precious item. What in the heck is this?
That is an old turbine pump.
That decades-old pump is the only source of reliable clean water for roughly 300 residents. It sends water through the pipes into their homes. Randy Whitaker does his best to help maintain it.
If you look at the facility, you think, no.
You think, no, I'm not drinking any of that.
Right, but it meets all regulatory standards.
We were there when the head of the Environmental Protection Agency got a tour of the place in December. Michael Regan's first initiative is to bring reliable, clean water to historically neglected communities across America.
I walked into a building that's leaking, that has ancient technology, and people's livelihoods are dependent upon this antiquated system. This is not what we should be having in this country.
But it is reality, and the 300 residents serviced by this pump have it good compared to thousands of other residents here who rely on rain or creek water for their water needs. What is one thing you don't have in this house?
We don't have water.
Sonny Barton has lived on this West Virginia ridge for 40 years. He says their mountain community was promised pipe water when he first got here, but it never happened.
I pump it on my truck with.
Out of the creek?
Yeah.
Just straight out of the creek?
Yeah, straight out of the creek.
This is life in McDowell County, West Virginia, population 18,393.
This mining hat right here was the last mining hat my dad wore in the coal mines.
Coal helped the family make a living, but they were never hooked up to a city or county water line.
We're supposed to be the best country in the world.
The richest.
The richest country in the world.
Some 100 years ago, some residents here were among the richest people in the United States.
Historically, these coal companies and other extractive industries were the ones who paid for, operated, and maintained all of these town water systems. The communities then have to rely on infrastructure that is aging, failing.
100 years later, coal still rules here, but it's a shadow of itself. So is the tax base and infrastructure generations of families rely on.
My grandmother, this is me and her. She didn't have running water until she was 70.
What Eddie George does is help people in his hometown get water piped to their homes. He works for a nonprofit organization called Dig Deep. But George points out that the problem isn't just about how people get water, but what's in it.
These are what we call straight piping. It's dumping raw sewage into the stream.
This lovely stream runs right through Bailey's neighborhood, but every house we see has a straight pipe straight into it. The people we heard from here desperately want to be hooked up to a water system, but have little hope it will happen anytime soon.
In an area like this, you're, I think, 13 to 14 miles away from any main water source.
But Eddie George does see a trickle of hope because for the first time ever, the head of the EPA came to McDowell County and pledged to help fix what has been broken for far too long.
All right, thanks, Sarah. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay and Clinton Griffiths, have a great day.